Greetings, travelers. It's Ed Gates and Paul Gamber with Travel Talk. How you guys doing today? Hey, Paul, how are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing all right. I'm enjoying some nice, cooler weather here. It's been a little bit of a depressing day based on some news that came out about how much longer the lockdown's going to last here in Los Angeles. So we'll have to see how that settles out.
Well, we're opening here on Friday in Arizona, so we're looking forward to that. It's still another hot day here. That heat's kind of set in. We have a break from that heat wave what we had last week, so we're not in the hundreds anymore, but still mid 90s. Tomorrow.
Dare I tell you that it's only 72 degrees here.
Okay. Oh well. You know, hey, I choose to live here. You choose to live there and pay those ridiculous taxes and higher property.
Touche.
So, hey, everybody, today we're going to talk about Paul and my favorite subject to talk about, food.
Yeah.
So we're going to, first off, we're going to kick it off by saying adieu to one of my favorite dining experiences. Rest in peace, the buffet.
Yes.
Sadly,
I need to play a dirge for the poor buffet.
So, buffets, we loved you. I loved you in particular, but I really think they are going to be a thing of the past, and it's going to be a long time before at least cheap buffets come back. Mainly because of how crowded they tend to be, especially the ones in Las Vegas and some of these resorts where they have a regular brunch buffet or something like that, open food. You know, the virus scares and all the sanitation scares that are going to be able to be implemented by all these travel companies and hospitality companies. Buffets are going to be a thing of the past, at least in the form that they are now. As Paul pointed out, some of the higher scale buffets are really going to be probably still around. Maybe they're going to have a service kind of thing where the food is behind a wall and you're served that food by a server.
That would be my guess.
More so than grabbing it yourself, that kind of thing. So, and then being elbow to elbow with the guy next to you, that's probably not going to be something that's going to be in a new buffet once things are overdone with, if they do survive. Do I think places like Golden Corral and Morrison's Cafe, is that still around, Morrison's Cafe?
I think in some places. Well,
I know. Well, Sweet Tomatoes is closed for good,
yep,
unfortunately.
yep.
Sweet Tomatoes. I wonder if Golden Corral is going to go the same route.
It makes me wonder.
It makes you wonder. But that model is history. So fairly well. So today, Paul and I we're talking about a few of the experiences. We're each going to name our top 3 experiences with food while traveling. And I told Paul right off the bat, I'm not going to mention any buffets because a couple of my buffets that I went to while traveling are amazing. And I'm going to give them a shout out right now. The buffet at the seafood buffet at the Polynesian Cultural Center in Honolulu, Hawaii, was probably, and still, and this has been 12 years going strong, still number 1 on my list of all-time great buffets. It was fantastic. Unfortunately, like I said, they aren't going to be around anymore. So, I don't want to promote anything and have you guys, not be able to experience those. So, there's various buffets in Vegas too that are just out of this world that really made my vacation. But we're going to stick a little bit more to specific foods, specific entrees, or that we enjoyed while we were traveling. And Paul, why don't you kick it off with your top 3 list there?
Absolutely. It was hard. I had to think a long time, because I wanted to go with experiences that were obviously delicious, but were memorable or held a special sort of emotional, connection for me, and that pop out in my head. And so I was able to come to my top 3, and I'll start with one that I repeated every year for many years as a child and as a younger adult, because we would vacation in St. Simon's Island, Georgia. It was one of our favorite family vacation spots. It's still a great place to vacation, although it's been many years since I've been there. I did look this place up today. It's still there. It's still got great reviews. It looks exactly the same as I remember as a kid, and it's called the Crab Trap in St. Simon's Island, Georgia, or as we lovingly called it, the Crab Crap. And it had, I still remember, I always got the Georgia fried shrimp and the battered French fries that it came with. Real healthy, I know. But I still dream about that to this day, having that every summer when we went. And for me, that fried shrimp and those, and I looked and they still make the French fries the same exact way where they batter them and they're like extra crispy and good. It is definitely in my top 3 of favorite vacation or travel food experiences. So props to the Crab Trap. Number 2 for me happened in 2014 when we went to Italy. And this was actually a suggestion from one of Stephanie's coworkers. And so we looked up this little hole in the wall sandwich shop called All'Antico Vinaio. It's in Florence, just very close, a couple blocks away from the famous Uffizi Museum. And it is just a hole in the wall. There's a line out the door, down the street, and you get into the sandwich shop, and they've got, just meat, cured meat hanging there, all of these cheeses, and they make up on, of course, fresh bread in Italy. It would be a travesty if you didn't have beautiful bread to go with it. Well, they put together these, soppressata and ham and salamis and all of that into this absolutely just to die for cured meat and cheese sandwich. And so that's number 2 on my list. I ate it right there in the street. I've got a picture somewhere that I'll post in the group because it's just hard to express how exciting and
that sounds absolutely amazing. Actually,
you're like me. You love salami and cured meats and stuff. I could probably subsist off salami.
Yeah, and then eating it outside right there,
in the streets of Florence. So it was wonderful. Number 1, and this was a clear number 1 for both me and Stephanie for a trip that we went on in 2007 to Germany. And we were in Fusen, which I thought of it this week too, because you had posted about Hohenschwangau and Neuschwanstein in the group and those castles. Well, Fusen is right there, the closest really town that you can stay in near those castles. And we just were walking down sort of one of the main streets there and wandered into a little cafe and had the absolute best schnitzel and French fries and dark beer called König Ludwig Dunkelsbier. And I still remember the schnitzel, and there's something about the oil that they used to fry it in, the schnitzel and the fries and the beer, and it was just like, I am in Germany, and this is the way all was right with the world. So the schnitzel and fries and dark beer in Fusen, Germany, that rounds out my top 3. And I still think about all of those to this day. A very short, brief, honorable mention goes to the random chippy that we found while in Edinburgh there in 2012. I was sick as a dog. I know I've talked about that before. I had strep throat. This is one of the reasons I want to go back to Scotland, because I didn't fully get to enjoy it. And in the midst of that, still I remember just getting this big hunk of fried fish and sitting on a bench outside the chippy. That was number 4. It almost made it in. I had to give it an honorable mention. And I'm seeing a trend of a lot of fried foods on my list.
Oh my gosh.
So
well, that
I'm going to toss it over to you and have you talk about your top 3.
Sure, and I'll get into my fried foods here in a second. I just want to say, Germany is on my list. I've never been, and I plan on drinking lots of dark beer when I'm there.
Yummy.
Sounds amazing. So I'm glad you mentioned an honorable mention. So let's just go ahead and cheat and make this 4 for me, because I had 4 as well.
All right.
And the reason I have one is because I have 2 of them in the same place. 10 years ago, my wife and I, was it 10 years ago? Maybe 9, because it was that,
about 10 years.
Yeah, about 10 years ago, we went to Hawaii for our honeymoon. It's the only time I've been to Hawaii, so I need to go back. But we did it all. When we went there, we went to the Dole Plantation. We went and ate on the North Shore. We went all the way around the place. As I mentioned, we went to the Polynesian Cultural Center. So I got that as a freebie honorable mention earlier. But also we went to, I wanted to find a perfect Hawaiian burger because I was into Hawaiian burgers back then. I know you're not into the whole salty sweet.
That digs that with you.
But I'm a big pineapple teriyaki sauce guy, and I wanted to have a Hawaiian burger in Hawaii. So I found this hole-in-the-wall burger joint downtown Honolulu, right by the Central Park area down there. And my wife and I, we went in there, and it was amazing. I can't even remember the name of the place, but it did not disappoint. So it was a big half-pound burger with a huge slab of Dole pineapple right on top. Oh,
I'd even try that, and I bet you I'd like it.
I bet you would too. Yeah. So,
just
but no, that did not make my list.
Pizza. That's all I say. Keep it off the pizza. You can put it on the hamburger. But
right.
That's a story for another time.
Well, that did not make my list though, because as good as it was, the best food I ate in Hawaii and the most memorable, and you've got to do it. You've got to go to a luau when you're in Honolulu. Everybody will tell you it's like bucket list item when you're in Honolulu. Go to a luau. Right. Well, we went to the, I believe it was the Waikiki Starlight Luau, which is over by Ko'olina Resort where we were staying. And it was amazing. They did the whole pig roasted right in the ground. They did the hukalau. They went out with the nets and got the fish and everything, brought it all back. The best pulled pork I've ever had. I mean, it was sweet. It was juicy. It was not dry. It was amazing.
Oh man, I'm getting hungry.
Yeah. So and they all these different kind of foods I've never had before. They just bring to you and you try it. It was all fresh tasting. It was amazing. So the luau is a must do. The roast pork though was the star of the show. And so that's my number 3. Number 2, my wife and I recently took a trip to Washington, D.C. I've talked about this on the show before, how great Washington is. And we are huge lobster roll fans. And when in D.C., if you like lobster rolls, you must do Luke's. Luke's has been around forever, and they're near central town, not too far from where the National Mall is. And Luke's is world famous for their lobster rolls. So we got a couple, and
awesome.
Let me tell you, we were not disappointed. Huge lobster rolls with, it's just delicious. I don't know what they put in. It's probably a secret, but it's just amazing, fresh tasting lobster. I've heard the only lobster rolls that beat it are in Maine, and we talked about Maine last week. So that's on my list. So that's my number 2. And number 1 is not really, like you said, the greatest food, but it's probably one of the most memorable things. When I was 20 years old, no, 19 going on 20, right? My family moved to Huntington Beach, California, from Atlanta, Georgia. And so I was still in college then. They moved over the summer. I finished my last semester, and I got in the car, packed up everything out of my dorm, and drove my little Dodge Neon all the way across the country all by myself. So a couple people told me that when I go, you've never had a steak until you've had a nice, fresh Midwestern steak, and or not Midwestern, a Western Plains steak. So that was on my list of things to do in Oklahoma. I stayed in Oklahoma City, and I went to the Cimarron Steakhouse in Oklahoma City. Got a ribeye, and it's probably the most expensive meal I've ever paid for at that age. But
you're
also,
like, oh my God,
the best steak I've ever had at that point in my life. It was just juicy. It fell apart. It just melted in your mouth, and it was amazing. Now, I've had the privilege of going to lots of different kinds of steakhouses since then.
But you remember that one.
But that one was my first experience with a good Texas, Oklahoma Plains steak. So that was amazing.
Well, you started right because you chose a ribeye. So.
That's right. I asked the lady which was the best one to go with. It's a recommendation, right? Because I remember I wanted the T-bone or the porterhouse. I wanted, something beefy, huge. But no, she steered me in the right direction. I believe it was a Delmonico style. Love it. So that's my 3 food memories on vacation.
That's awesome. And now you've made me really hungry. And now I want to make sure to ask our audience to please chime in, because we love hearing about food and we want to hear about your favorite vacation travel food experiences and memories, don't we?
Absolutely. And if you comment something and we go there, we'll remember it and we'll have to go try it. How about that, Paul?
Absolutely.
You
We're always
comment a place we have to go to and try, and we'll remember it and give you a shout out.
I'm going to start keeping a list, and if we go there, maybe we'll go live. Who knows? We'll just
There we go.
Well, this was fun, Eddie. This was a good topic this week.
Absolutely.
Well,
so thanks everybody for watching again. I want to go ahead and wrap us up. Another quick, easy show. Tune in next week. We're going to do have another fun topic to talk about. And I hope you caught both Paul and I drop videos this week as well. We're going to try to drop as many videos as we can.
At least one per each of us per week.
Yep.
Not always on the same exact day necessarily, but
right. And I hope you guys are enjoying the daily slideshows. There's 2 a day, every day. This week we're running the places that could be in a fairy tale. So enjoy those. Just like Paul said, like the castle and everything. The 2 castles in Germany was a neat one a couple days ago. So, all right, guys, we're blathering. So we're going to sign off and let you guys go. But thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.
Bye.